Good evening and welcome to Western Pennsylvania's #1 cable access show dedicated to craft beer. This is Yinz Brewin. I am your host, Adam, and with me, of course, is also Steve.
Hello.
Steve, how are you on this fine evening?
I'm good. How are you?
I am quite well.
Excellent.
And we have a very specific topic to talk about here tonight.
Sure.
Beer.
Yeah, I think that's the topic. That's a running theme on this show.
Yes. Now, one of the questions that we always seem to be getting is, what kind of beer do I like? What kind of beer do I want to drink? So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to have a bit of a breakdown of the very basics of the styles of beer that you can find around here in Pittsburgh, around Western Pennsylvania, and quite honestly, around the world. And before we get into that, I just want to remind everybody, why are we qualified to talk about beer? In reality, we're not. But the one thing that we do have in front of us is we are hosts of the local podcast, Hop Nation USA.
I honestly think my qualifications go beyond that, being that I've been drinking beer for a number of years.
That is also true, and I can back
I think
you
those
up
are
on
our
that.
qualifications, is that we've been drinking beer for a long time, and not just beer, but craft beer.
And the beautiful thing is they keep making new styles, and there are more breweries here in Western Pennsylvania creating these new styles and new fusions, so somebody's got to go find them, and somebody's got to go try them. So why not us?
Yeah, exactly. I've been an adventurous beer drinker for as long as I can remember, so I'm always out there. I'm at the forefront. My fingers on the pulse of the community.
I like that. So one of the things that we have to remember is whenever we are talking about beer, there are essentially two styles of beer that we have to worry about.
So beer breaks down into two classifications. You have your lagers and you have your ales.
Case in point, your lagers. This is a traditional Yuengling. This is the #1 craft beer in the United States. It is actually right here from Pennsylvania. As you can see, that is a very large can. If you haven't heard of Yuengling and you lived in Pittsburgh for more than a week, shame on you. Yes, this is a rather common beer, but this is in fact a craft beer. And as a matter of fact, this is what I'm going to be drinking tonight.
And that falls into the category of a lager.
That is
so
correct.
So why don't you take a minute to explain what a lager is?
So what a lager is, essentially the difference between a lager and the other style that we'll get to in just a moment, is that the fermentation temperatures are usually taken to a lower side of things. Fermentation temperatures are usually in the 35 to 50 degree range, whereas with ales, the other style we'll be talking about briefly here, those are usually fermented at a room temperature, somewhere around 65 to 75 degrees. The biggest difference between the two is the type of yeast that is used. The lager will use what is called a bottom fermenting yeast, whereas an ale will use what is called a top fermenting yeast.
And for those of you who don't know, fermentation is the process in which yeast will convert sugars into alcohol. So that's what creates your alcohol. And like Adam said, lagers are bottom fermenting and ales are top fermenting, and we just happen to have a very fine local ale with us tonight. This is the Hop Farm Fresh Pot Porter, and this is a darker beer that it also is flavored with coffee.
So what does the difference between a lager and an ale mean to you? In the grand scheme of things, nothing. If you like it, drink it. If you don't drink it. That's the bottom line. I like myself a traditional lager by Yuengling, so I'm going to drink this.
What it does allow you to kind of understand, though, is the sub-styles that are going to come from each. Lagers are more traditionally the ambers, the pilsners, things of that nature, especially Oktoberfest beers. Those are pretty much exclusively lagers. And then ales are going to be much more in the range of Belgians and sours and IPAs and stouts and porters. The whole gamut of sub-styles is quite impressive.
Yes. Bottom line is, if it's not a lager, it's an ale. Just remember that. If you see something that is not explicitly stated as a lager, it's an ale. So here's the problem. We've been talking for a solid 5 minutes, and we don't have a beer in front of us.
Well, we have beers in front of us. They're not in glasses.
I think we need to take care of that right now.
I think so, too.
Oh, you got yourself a heady one.
Yeah.
So we're going to what do you say we let that settle for just a moment, and then we can come back for segment 2, where we have a very special guest.
Yeah. We have a homebrewer with us. As every episode we plan, we have a homebrewer.
So we have a very special guest. John Bubba will be here. He actually specializes in a style of brewing called extract brewing. and I'm actually very excited to talk to him about this. I've only done it once or twice, and I want to learn a little bit more about it. And not only that, when we come back, we're going to talk with Bubba with his extract style brewing, and we're going to get into a little bit more on the styles and how you can differentiate between the different styles whenever you're out at the bar or at the distributor.
All right, then.
Cheers.
Cheers. Welcome back to Yinz Brewin. We're here with our very special guest, Bubba, also known as John, but more commonly known as Bubba.
More commonly known as Bubba.
And also known as the Pride of Boone Township.
There we go.
Yeah. He is our home brewer of the week, and he'll be introducing us to his home brew. So why don't you start us off with that?
All right, so this is my most recent home brew. It is a leftover Christmas stout. It comes in at 8% ABV, and I brewed it using a lot of malty chocolate grains and very little amount of hops and lots of cinnamon.
This sounds like a fine combination. So here's what I want to know. Why don't we have this open in front of us right now?
We could do that.
Let's make that happen.
So while he pops those open and pours us out some taste, I'm assuming this is an ale.
It is.
Yeah. Obviously, you use the top fermenting yeast. Do you know what yeast you used?
It escapes me right now.
Okay.
So
I might have used Safe Ale 5.
Okay.
Went with the pretty much go-to.
All right. And was this an extract?
It was an extract brew.
Okay.
So on previous episodes, we have had people that have brewed their own in what they call an all-grain style. And you're going through what is called the extract style of brewing. Can you explain what the difference between an extract or an all-grain brewing process would be?
So extract is the more simplified version. Some other people take the steps away and provide through their extracts what you would do in all grain. So an extract brew starts with bringing water up to about 140 degrees to 160, and you'll have a bag of grains. Your grain bill depends on what you want to make. They vary and different colors and I cannot think of the rating for how dark the grains are going to be.
Oh, you're talking about the SRM scale.
The SRM scale.
I think that's a little advanced for the moment.
Okay.
For the minute, but yes, you'll have your grain bag and you'll be able to steep that, and that will add to the color and the flavor of your beer.
Yeah, so you steep for about 20 minutes, much like you would make tea in your home. And then once you're done with your steeping, you can basically throw the grain bag out. You're done with that. You move on to bringing your, now you have what is called a wort, which is unfermented beer. You bring that up to a boil, and you have what you call your boil time or your hop.
Yeah, it's your boil time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this,
So, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was going to say, so this sounds like pretty much a more streamlined process than what it would be versus an all-grain process.
It is. It is.
And the extract name comes essentially from the fact that when you're doing this, you're adding an extract of syrup or malt syrup, and that's going to be basically a lot of sugar going right into your boiling wort at the time. And that's where it comes from, extract. Whereas all grain is you're going to get all of your sugars all from grain.
A well-placed name.
Yeah. So let's get into this extract beer.
Yes. Do we have a name for this beer?
This is the Cinnamon Christmas Stout.
Ooh,
Okey
all right.
doke.
So,
Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers, cheers.
cheers.
On the nose, I smell a lot of spice on that.
Oh, I just powered right through that. I really wanted to taste it. I'm really a big fan of the chocolate cinnamon combination,
Yeah, that's definitely in there.
Oh, yeah.
and so
Yeah.
Bubba, well done, well
Real-
done, well executed.
Yeah, it's really dark for a Christmas ale. Usually they're a bit more in the amber range, but did you add any kind of extra grains to that to make it darker, or was it more other things?
We ended up having the grain in the boil, which is not supposed to happen. I had a steep bag cooked to the bottom of the kettle and rip. So minor hiccups in the home brewing process. It's beer, it'll make it.
That's right.
So that sounds like a rookie mistake.
It was.
Which leads us to our first question. How long have you been homebrewing?
I've been homebrewing just over a year.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right. So
still-
what brought you into the home brewing fold?
So obviously, I've been drinking beer for 5 years. I love craft beer. And the idea to make my own has always been intriguing, kind of a hands-on, do-it-yourself kind of person. So having something that I like to drink and being able to create it kind of attracted me to home brewing. Now, I didn't make the leap myself. Actually, I got my first homebrew kit as my Christmas present back in 2016. So I was really excited to get that going. We fortunately got a random warm day where it was 70 degrees, fired up the kettle, and was able to brew my first homebrew about a month after I got the kit. So
Very nice. Very nice. Well, we look forward to more of these beers coming down the pike.
Yeah.
And we're definitely going to have you back because these are some these are pretty darn good beers.
yeah,
I'd consider this is a top 5 beer.
for as many hiccups, it turned out all right.
Just like Bob Ross says, it's just a happy little accident. That's all. So what do you say? We've talked about all these different types of beers, but we haven't actually had the chance to show the audience what kind of different beers there can be. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to have Bubba join us here and go through what are some of the bigger or more common styles of beers that you would find a little bit beyond the split between ales and lagers. So what we have here is we have 3 beers that are very common in Western Pennsylvania that you can usually find. And the first one is actually this little guy right here. This is what is called a Vienna lager. This goes under the umbrella of the lager style of beer. We discussed that earlier, where it has the bottom fermenting yeast and is usually fermented at a cooler temperature. But what do you want to look for when you look for a lager? Now, obviously, there are different subsections when it comes to lagers. As previously mentioned, you can have your Oktoberfest, your Marzens, you can have your Vienna lagers, you can have just your American lagers, your American light lagers, things of that nature. Bottom line is the macro beers that you would usually see at a ball game, your Budweisers, your Millers, your Coolers, your Pabst Blue Ribbons, things of that nature. By and large, those are all lagers. Those are all your macro beers. That's what you're going to be finding are your lagers. So how can you tell what is a lager versus an ale? A lot of time an American lager, we're going to focus on the American lager right now because that's usually what one would find if you're looking at the macro or your common styles of beers. A Yingling would be another one. Actually, a little tidbit, these were actually originated in Germany. Actually, a lot of beer was originated in Germany, to the surprise of no one, as a matter of fact. Usually in terms of color, it's a very pale straw or yellow. They're usually very clear. The head, which is a little bit of foam that you have on top of the beer whenever you first pour or first draft your beer, it's usually going to be a nice white. It's going to dissipate usually pretty quickly. In terms of taste, it is usually going to be a crisp and light beer. It's a very easy drinker, and that's something you can usually find with your American lagers, your American light lagers. Is not that I'm condoning this, but you can usually drink a lot of them. You can get into a session, so to speak, and usually in terms of ABV, which is the alcohol by volume, what that means is that is the amount of alcohol that you would usually find in a single serving of beer. That is usually between 4 and 6%. And that's pretty common among these styles of beers that we'll be covering tonight.
Yeah, I would say so. The only other thing I would mention is usually a lot of the lagers that you're going to find, they are more on the end of malty rather than bitter and hop. You're not going to find a lot of hop presence in any of these beers. So if you're the kind of person who doesn't like IPAs, you might want to seek these out more so because you're not going to get that hoppy smell or that hoppy floral taste. You're going to get more of a caramel taste from them. But since we're in the realm of talking about IPAs, I know that's a favorite style of Bubba's.
It is.
So why don't you talk about what an IPA is?
An IPA. They originally came from England to withstand the long journey. To do this, they were higher alcohol and higher hops. These have such a wide variety in today's craft beer scene. They come in at low ABVs and high ABVs. There's a lot of subgenre to them. They are the darlings of the craft beer renaissance, and any brewery worth its salt will have an IPA on the tap. They reflect American hop character with American hop character with citrusy, floral, piney, and fruity aspects. Those ones will be medium to high to very hoppy, very high hop bitterness, and the malt backbone will support the strong hop character and provide the best balance. They're mostly clear, similar to the American lager. And common beers include Dogfish Head 60 Minute, Bell's Two Hearted Ale, and Victory Hop Devil are local to this area, or very, very abundant in this area.
Yeah, definitely. You spoke about how like there's a big kind of substrata between all of the IPAs in the world, and what is due to that is the different strains of hops that you will get. A lot of people will focus on single hop variants of IPAs, or you can get into any kind of combination you really want, and that's part of the home brewing process is when you're in that boil time. While you're also adding your extracts and your sugars, you can also be adding hops at different various points, which allow for aromas and bittering throughout the process.
Much like the craft beer scene, people are developing new hop strains just as fast. They're expanding.
Exactly, yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and now we're to the point that we're getting them from all over the world, including New Zealand, Australia,
South Africa.
Yeah, South Africa is a real hotbed for new hops. So
one of the other things that is being developed in recent years in the world of IPA is what are called hazy IPAs or New England IPAs. What that is essentially the exact opposite of what a classic IPA is. Usually the classic IPA is very clear, looks very similar to one of the macro beers that you would expect to see at a VFW. The hazy or New England style IPAs, these are, as described, are very hazy, almost to the point of looking like a milkshake.
Or a juice.
Or a juice, yes.
More commonly a juice,
yes,
yeah.
Sometimes they're also called juicy IPAs. And the difference in terms of taste between a classic IPA and a hazy or New England style IPA is that the hazy IPA will actually have a much sweeter finish to it. It doesn't have that bittering that you would normally find in an IPA. And me personally, I'm not necessarily a hophead. I find that to be quite refreshing. That there are styles of IPAs that somebody who doesn't like to get into the huge hoppy beers, there's something out there for us as well.
And so that brings us to a third style that's available and rather popular, is the stout. The stout is going to be your very dark beer that everybody seems to be afraid of, but you really shouldn't be. Now, what sets stouts apart from lagers and IPAs is, of course, their color, and that's very off-putting. But they range in ABV just as much as an IPA. They can go as low as 4% all the way up to 12%. And beyond with some other very experimental,
beyond, oh yes,
very experimental beers. But it's really in the grain bill that stouts are differentiated from everything else. You find a lot of roasted barley and roasted malts, and even what are known as chocolate malts, and that's what's going to impart those really deep, dark colors into them. And apart from that, you're also going to get stouts that have just chocolate and coffee directly put into them. Again, like the lagers, though, you're not going to get the hop bitterness or hop aroma that you find in the IPAs. So stouts are another style that people who are not fans of IPAs should be seeking out. I know you may be afraid of how deep and dark the color is, but that's not an indication of how heavy the beer is. The indication of how heavy a beer is going to be the ABV. That's going to more dictate how thick and heavy and how quickly it's going to get you a little tuned up.
So, funny thing, you should mention that with porters and stouts, we'll get into that conversation on a later episode, the difference between a porter and a stout. But for sake of conversation, they're the same thing right now. One of the actually most health-conscious beers that you can have on the market today is, in fact, a stout. The Guinness Stout.
Yeah.
If you're counting your calories, one of the best beers to actually drink, if you are able to drink beer, is a Guinness. A serving for a Guinness is usually between 110 and 120 calories, which for a beer is very reasonable. So if you can't kick the beer habit, but you're still trying to watch your intake, Guinness is definitely a way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not, a 64-calorie Michelob, but
It also
then again,
has a lot of good
it has
taste
flavor.
to it.
then again, it has flavor. It has a lot of that chocolatey flavor that we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, definitely a beer that's worth tasting. So, what do we say? We take a break, and we'll get set up for a game. And what we're going to do is Bubba and I are actually going to participate in a taste test between the 3 beers that you see on the table right now. And we'll see who's got the better taste buds.
It's time to flex your beer muscles.
All right.
So stay tuned. We will be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to Moon Township's #1 craft beer TV show. Bubba, thank you for sticking around.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Steve, thank you for sticking around.
I'm always here.
I know. You have
choice.
to be.
I have no choice.
Contractually. We
Yes.
know. We know. I saw you sign it. So, it is time to flex some beer muscles, gentlemen.
I can do that.
So here's
Go.
what we're going to do. We have 3 beers in front of us. These are representations of the 3 beers that we talked about earlier tonight. Here we have our stout. This is an Innocent Gun stout. I believe this is a barrel-aged stout as well.
It's actually, a barrel-aged stout that's been aged on Scotch barrels, specifically Tullamore Dew Scotch.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. This is a Vienna lager. This is the Hans. This is from Rheingeist Brewing out of Cincinnati, Ohio. And finally, we have the IPA from Penn Brewing. So I know this will be Bubba's favorite, and I don't even have to ask him that. So what we're going to do is we are going to do a blindfold challenge between these 2 gentlemen here. What we're going to do is we are going to blindfold them, we are going to give them a taster of the beer, and they are going to have to tell me which beer is which. Are you game?
Sounds good.
Are you ready?
Sounds easy.
I like the attitude. Let's make
go.
this happen. So, who wants to go first, Steve or Bubba?
Well, I think we flipped a coin backstage, and Bubba will be going first.
I like that.
All right.
Okay, so are you ready to get set?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, we have Bubba all set. He is officially blindfolded. He can't see anything. He can still hear. Not that that should help him with the beer any, but you never know. So what we're going to do is we're going to feed him 3 beers. What we want him to do is determine which beer is which of the 3 that we talked about earlier tonight. So, Bubba, when I feed you these beers, what I want you to do is smell it, taste it, try to figure out which one is which.
Okay.
And when you think you have it, let us know what it is and why.
Okay.
So here is beer number 1. You seem to already have it before you even got the glass to the face.
That is the Penn Brewery IPA.
Now, why do you think that is the Penn Brewing IPA?
You can smell the piney kind of hops coming through, and you can definitely taste them.
You're just going to keep drinking that, aren't
It's
you?
a little lighter in body. Yeah. Was I not supposed to?
No, you can keep drinking all you want. That's fine.
I don't know where it went.
No, you-
That is definitely the IPA, though.
Okay, well done. Well done. So it is time for beer number 2. I'll hand it to you.
Okay.
You're all right.
All right.
You're all right. So this is beer number 2.
All right. Definitely has a lighter taste, or lighter smell to it. I taste through my nose now. That is the Vienna lager.
Now, what made you decide that that was the Vienna lager?
It's a little lighter in body. It has a more crisp taste to it than what I would expect for the stout. And I know the last one was the IPA, so process of elimination.
I like that. I like that. Smart. Smart. So what do you say we go to number 3? See if you can go 3 for 3. You already
right.
got 2.
All right.
I hope for the best. Right in front of you. Right there.
There we go.
Okay.
Oh yeah, this one is definitely a lot more roasty. Has a stronger malt smell to it. That's the porter.
No doubt about it.
That is smooth though. That's good.
You're going to keep drinking on that one, aren't you?
Quite possibly.
So I must say, I am very impressed. You may only have 4 or 5 years of beer drinking under your belt, but well executed. And I think that was very, very good. I think it's time that we bring in our resident expert, Steve, and see if he can match.
All right.
So now we have our resident expert, Steve, here. He has his blindfold on. He looks ridiculous. And it is time to see if he can go 3 for 3, just like our guest, Bubba.
Steve, this is number 1. It is right in front of you. Which
Okay.
beer are you drinking tonight? Oh, I thought you were going to take your blindfold off. Like,
No,
that's
no,
cheating.
it just-
Come on, man.
Don't want to dip it in. All right, so that's got some pretty roasty notes on it. I'm going to say that this one is the Stout.
Okay, let's go with that one.
Take it away.
Your second beer is right in front of you. Can you guess what it is?
You know what? This is twice that I think you've just given me Yingling.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm pretty sure you just doubled up Yingling on me. Yeah.
So, what style of beer is a Yingling?
Well, that's obviously American Amber Lager of okay performance. Pennsylvania's favorite and top brewing facility.
You're darn right it is.
Yeah.
So you're going with the lager for number 2.
No, I'm going with the lager for all of them so far.
For all of them? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then here's your third lager. Tell me how it is.
See, now this is definitely the IPA.
Okay.
Yeah, for
Now
sure
what-
an IPA.
and
That
what-
one's really fresh. A lot of floral notes going on. Yeah.
So you were saying that that is the IPA, and the first 2 that you had were the lager.
Well, I think the first 2 were the Yingling, or you've played a nasty trick on me and they're all Yingling.
I would never do that to you.
I'm pretty sure you would.
No, I really wouldn't. So if that is your guess, that all 3 are Yingling, you would be wrong.
Okay.
But no, in all honesty, you said that the first one was the Stout,
Right.
which is correct.
Yeah.
You said that the second one was the Vienna Lager. That is also correct.
Yep.
And the third one was the IPA by Penn Brewing.
Okay, yes.
So, we are tied.
Right.
That means it is time for a tiebreaker.
Tiebreaker round, right?
And I'm sorry, Bubba, you don't have a choice in this. And good for you is we are going to make things a little more difficult
Yeah.
because we have a bonus beer.
Okay.
And what we're going to do is I'm going to give you the bonus beer.
Uh-huh.
You have to tell me what it is.
Okay.
This is above and beyond anything that we have had on the show tonight.
Okay, so if I get it wrong, then Bubba wins the prize.
Correct.
All right.
And if you get it right,
Then I
Bubba's-
stay the champion.
no, Bubba still wins the prize.
Oh, okay. I don't think I want to give Bubba the prize. Well, I kind of do, but
Yeah, we could give him the prize.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have one remaining beer. We have not discussed this on the show tonight. This is fresh from, well, the distributor. I bought it earlier today.
I was like, oh, is he going to give me a brewery?
I will give you a brewery. It's a Pennsylvania brewery.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to give you, as a matter of fact.
All right.
So I'm going to give you the whole bottle.
Hasn't been discussed. Whole brewery.
It is right in front of you.
Okay, so it's a stout.
Okay.
Really boozy. Probably has a bit of a barrel age on it, possibly.
Okay. So you're saying that it is a barrel-aged stout. Is that your is that the answer that you are sticking? Well, okay. Reconsidering.
No, I'm not reconsidering. I'm just enjoying.
You're just going to drink that entire beer.
I probably shouldn't
And
because
you can-
I bet it's about 10% at least.
Well, you would be on the low end.
Okay. Is this the Dogfish Head Worldwide Stout?
It is not. I don't like you that much.
Okay. That's a pretty expensive beer to
know.
just throw away like that.
So your final answer is that it is a stout.
Yeah, definitely a stout, probably barrel aged.
So here's the problem. You're half right.
Okay.
It is, in fact, a barrel-aged beer.
Is it a barley wine?
It is a barley wine.
Okay.
Very good.
That
well
would have been my
done.
next guess, yeah.
Very well done. Unfortunately for you,
Yeah.
Bubba still wins.
Oh, damn.
So we're going to have to give him the prize.
Oh, well.
Just for your information, that is the Weyerbacher Insanity.
Ah, yeah.
That is a barrel-aged barley wine. For those wondering, Steve earlier said that this was probably a big beer in terms of ABV, somewhere around 10%. This one actually clocks in at 13.3%.
Actually, this is one of the newer ones. It's only 11.
Oh, it's only 11.
So
I
I
apologize.
was much closer.
I
Price is Right
apologize.
rules, I win on that one.
So, Bubba, we would like to have you come back in so we can present you with your prize.
All right, well, welcome back to the table, Bubba. You are this episode's official winner of the beer challenge.
Well done. Well executed.
People
However,
will be proud.
we are a show of no budget. So this week, your prize is the DVD Postgrad, starring Gilmore Girls' Alexis Bledel.
Wow, I've never even heard of that before.
Don't worry, you're not the only one. Where did you find that?
That's a dollar store purchase, yo.
That's a budget of one.
I know.
Well, that came out of our
Yeah,
own
that comes
pocket.
right out of my pocket.
So,
So
Wow.
that's your prize, and I believe this is my prize.
and I get nothing.
Wait a minute.
Oh, that's right. I get all of this. Yes. So, Bubba, I do want to thank you for coming on the show. I do appreciate that. And I want to thank all of you for joining us on another stellar episode of Yinz Brewin.
Yes.
Just for you know, coming up, we have several more episodes. I have no idea about what yet, but they will also be stellar. So please, stay tuned. Keep brewing. Keep enjoying beer. If you want to get a hold of us, I guess we should do a little bit of social media plugs.
Yeah, if you want to find us, you can just search Hop Nation USA, and you can listen to our podcast that we do every week. And we have brand new information, edutainment, as some may say.
That's a fine word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
edutainment. And you can learn all about craft beer, not just about what's happening in Western PA, but all over the world.
So if you have any suggestions for the show, if there's something in particular you'd like us to talk about, particular ingredients, particular styles, even particular breweries here and around Pittsburgh or Western PA, you can always email us. Our email is hopnationusa@gmail.com. We'll get your email and we'll respond, and we'll see if we can provide for the questions or queries that you have.
And if you're a home brewer, especially, reach out and contact us, and you too can be a guest on the show and win a copy of Postgrad.
See, I don't know if the budget can allow that grand of a prize every single time.
I think we're just going to take that one back from him and recycle it.
I'm
so-
okay with that.
Do I get to watch it first?
Sure.
Oh, nice.
You're on a red box.
My day with the Postgrad. It's like my day with the cup.
So again, thank you for tuning in, and
We'll see you next time when we find out what a Yinz brewing.